Hospital porters, pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order. Welcome to HPANWO TV. And this is another little film here, part 2 to my video on the Bazalgette Memorial. I've done another part 2 again, like I did with my video on North Fields and the Boudica Memorial, and that is simply because I often can't get everything I need to get into when I'm filming on location, because the noise and discomfort of London during the rush hour, especially during bad weather, makes it difficult to make those kind of films. Basically, this is a little follow-up to my video on Joseph Bazalgette, and as I explained before, Bazalgette is probably, I wonder how many of you heard of him. Be honest, how many of you heard of Joseph Bazalgette before I told you about him today? I'm guessing not many of you. I might be wrong there, but I think probably not many of you. But I know for certain all of you will probably have heard of Lord Nelson and Winston Churchill. Now, as you saw, there is a memorial to Joseph Bazalgette in London, but it's fairly modest actually compared to the memorial to Lord Nelson, which is, of course, you've seen it before on HPANWO TV, because I've been to visit it, and everybody knows about it, because it is this enormous phallic monstrosity in the middle of Trafalgar Square. It's one of the biggest tourist attractions in the city, and Winston Churchill, well, there's memorials to him everywhere. I mean, he's worshipped. So, just to remind ourselves, Joseph Bazalgette was not a military leader. He was not a great politician. He was never Prime Minister. He was never a general in the army. Joseph Bazalgette was a civil engineer who built and designed London's first proper sewage system. And what he designed was so good that it's still in use today. This is a recent photograph, which, as you can see, there's a man standing in there in modern clothes. It's a colour photograph recently taken, which is a picture of a Bazalgette sewer, one of Bazalgette's sewers. As you see here, is these brick-lined tunnels, enormously high quality, still in use today. They're 150 years old and they're still in use today. That's how good they were. And as I said in the last film, he is an unsung hero. Because he saved so many lives. He really deserves to be one of the greatest heroes in the history of the City of London, because, as I explained in the first part of this film, everyone in London was dying of the cholera because there was no proper sewage system. All their shit and piss was just being dumped into the River Thames. The Thames itself became like a sewer, and I'll show you here. Here you see is a caricature. This is a cartoon from a newspaper just before Bazalgette's sewage system was open, and you see here that's Father Thames, basically covered in shit, and there's some small children here who obviously are very sick, and I think that's a dead body. They've got cholera, they're dying, and they come into the Queen. That's Queen Victoria when she was young, asking her for help. So Bazalgette's sewage system, like I said, Bazalgette really is a hero. He saved so many lives with these sewers, and there's a map of this is a map of his sewers here. This is interesting, because this is a map based on the London Underground map for Frank Beck, but it shows a lot of the other different other sort of like hidden tunnels in London. These are sort of like non-public underground trains, but these yellow ones here are the sewers, the major sewers. Of course, these are just the main ones. There's lots of little ones that branch off them. But they're the main sewers which lead towards Woolwich, which is where the main processing plant is, just like it was in Bazalgette's time. It's still there today. What happens is all those sewage goes there where it's processed. The water is drained, and the solid waste is just basically dumped into the Thames, where the tide just takes it out into the North Sea, where it decomposes naturally. Because at the end of the day, it's just shit. It's natural. Shit is not harmful unless it hangs around in one place where people have to drink it. So that's a Frank Beck style map of the sewers. You don't want to see that. Who's that fella? I don't know him. Right. I had another map of it somewhere. I can't find it now. It doesn't matter. But basically, I think it's very important, because I'll go back to this little photo here of Bazalgette. It's quite a simple, sort of modest-looking manner, you know, and with this sort of like very far-away expression on his face. Typical Victorian portrait photo, smartly dressed, with this little sideboard beard, which men used to often have in those times. Very popular in the 19th century. Like I said, this man, no one's ever had a parade for this man. He doesn't wear a fancy uniform. He's never had a medal. He never gets called a hero. Now, he's been sitting in a corner with his head up his arse, quietly saving lives. Of course, that's not enough to get you hero worshipped in this country or in this world. And I think that's important. It goes back to, you know, comparing the Bazalgette Memorial with Nelson's Column and the big statue of Winston Churchill in Whitehall, right outside Downing Street. Lord Nelson and Winston Churchill were, of course, war leaders. Nelson was Admiral of the Fleet at the time of when the British Navy defeated the Spanish Armada. Winston Churchill was Prime Minister during most of World War II. Now, it's interesting that these war leaders are glorified. The same can be said for Abraham Lincoln. And he has this enormous Art Deco neoclassical mausoleum in Washington, D.C., right at the heart of the capital of the United States. This enormous, massive, gargantuan memorial on the Mall in Washington, D.C. Why? Because he was a war leader. He threw a war in the United States which killed 375,000 people. Waged on for several years. Changed the face of the country forever. There's a film just come out about Abraham Lincoln starring Daniel Day-Lewis, which portrays him as a really nice guy who wanted to free all the slaves, and that's why he did it, and what a good guy he is. No, I think there's another side to that story. I don't think Lincoln was quite the angel he's made out to be. And the same goes for Winston Churchill. Churchill killed, Churchill and his allies, Joseph Stalin and the Americans under Roosevelt and Truman, killed countless people. I mean, millions. I don't think it's ever going to be possible to calculate how many people the Allies killed in World War II. Far more than the Nazis did, even if you take into account Auschwitz and the other camps. Yet he is revered and he's glorified. And they always say, you know, you kill one man, you're a murderer. Kill a million, and you're a hero. Bazalgette didn't kill anyone. He saved how many lives? It's impossible to calculate. But during the height of the cholera epidemic, 300 people a week in London were dying of cholera, just dropping dead. Cholera would hit you in a few hours after you'd drunk filthy water full of shit, and then you'd die. Still happens today, sadly, in many parts of Africa where there's people are very poor. Now, like I was saying, I said in the first film how angry I was and annoyed that the fact that 300 ordinary people in London were dying a week of cholera was not enough to get Parliament motivated behind them, or the Queen to do something. Hence this cartoon here. But what actually galvanised the Parliament into action and got them working and getting Bazalgette to build these sewers, actually giving him the money and the time and the licence and the contract to build these sewers, was the big stink, which was actually it was actually a stink in Parliament because, as I explained in the first film, they installed a ventilation system which dragged air in off the river, supposedly to cool down the House of Parliament, the Houses of Commons and the House of Lords. But what it did, it filled the Parliament chambers with the stench of sewage, and the MPs were absolutely horrified and had to abandon Parliament. Parliament was suspended, and they were even thinking of moving to Henley and carrying on there. That's what finally got them into action. Not the fact that all their constituents were snuffing it, but the fact that they had to put up with a horrible smell when they were sitting there in their overpaid fancy leather seats doing their work. And I said that's typical of politicians. Anyway, this video is my homage to Joseph Bazalgette, the greatest hero the City of London has ever known. I think he's more of a hero than any soldier. I think he's more of a man than any soldier. And well done, Mr. Bazalgette. Hospital porters, pride and dignity, stop the New World Order.